please welcome our Cartoon Network artist and Shannon.
So hey guys, welcome back to SVA, and I'm so glad you're here.
Hey. Thanks for having us.
So I just want to start it off by maybe going back in time to SVA when you guys were doing your theses. So why don't you start off and tell me how you worked on your thesis and how that process was?
Sure thing. Well, I'm actually a little unusual. I didn't study animation at Cartoon Network. I was in the cartooning department, and so I didn't have a thesis film. I did make a comic. Our theme for it was the man-made monster. Kind of the thing I remember most about it is you're assigned 15 pages, and I was like overachiever, and I did 30. And I also like didn't leave my apartment for a week, and it was a little dark, but it was great. It felt really good to have all that space, and now I can't look at it at all.
Do you still have it at all?
I don't know.
I have it.
It's so weird.
So yeah, Hillary?
Kath. Yeah, my thesis here was a very dark pit of hell. I had like a full class load, and I was working, and I was interning at Augenblick. And I was trying to fit in my film whenever possible, which was usually up until about 2 a.m. when they kicked us out of the studio, and I would just walk all the way back to my dad's house. I cracked a rib coughing because I got really sick, but I couldn't go to the doctor because I was so busy. And I can't look at that film anymore. But people seem to enjoy it, so I'm glad.
I'm into it.
But I mean, you know, it's amazing to like have created an entire film, a product that people can see and say, yeah, that is a distillation of me for better or worse.
I'm so sorry about your cracked rib.
Oh, it's okay. I just didn't sneeze or cough, and it's okay.
There was no laughter at that time anyway, so it was fine.
Mike?
So my thesis film, I really focused on animating, so I never took it past the pencil test, but it was complete. I really wanted to be like a feature animator at that time, so I spent a lot of time on my drawing portfolio, which I spent a lot of time in Steve Gaffney's class. I used to go to his class all the time. He's great, guys. He's really good. And my thesis advisor is Howard Beckerman. So my thesis film, I'm proud of the animation of it, but never really was finished. So.
Oh, that's too bad. Do you ever think about going back and finishing it?
No.
You should finish your films.
Yeah. Finish
Don't
films,
give up.
Yes, yeah.
So my next question is, so after SVA, you guys had to, find jobs, and how was that transition into, I guess, the adult world? Was it smooth? Was it rocky? And is there anything you would do better?
Let's see. So in those days, there wasn't a lot of SVA people moving to LA. So when I got to LA, I didn't have a lot of friends from SVA. I would say, like, for me, like all the drawing and all the drawing classes that I took, like, really helped me a lot. So when I got into the industry, I could draw pretty well. So that was really helpful.
What was your, I guess, first call? Like, who did you go to first to, like, find a job, and were you successful in that?
Yeah, so, let's see, I had various jobs while I was at school. I did some stuff for Cartoon Sushi, I did some stuff for SNL, and for the Rosie O'Donnell show, but my first official job when I graduated was at this studio called Doghouse Animation, which doesn't exist anymore, and there's kind of a funny story about that.
Ooh, continue, do tell.
So I got the job, I'm like 2 weeks into it, and I go in one day, and the guy who owned the studio called me into his office, and he said, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, well, what's the bad news? He said, I'm closing the studio down. I'm like, oh, great. This is my first gig. This is terrible. I'm like, well, what's the good news? He's like, I'm going to be a sequence director on Rugrats in Paris, and I want you to come and be a storyboarder for me. I was like, that's great. When do we leave? I leave tomorrow, you leave on Saturday. So I packed up, I went home, told my family, I moved to LA with like a suitcase and $180.
Wow, that's awesome.
But it worked out.
Yeah. So, Kat, would you like to?
When I graduated, I didn't get any jobs for about a year. I was just working at a hospital part-time and living at my dad's place. But then I just slowly started to pick up work from friends who had to pass on freelance because they already had jobs. So I helped Jacob Ospa, who's an alum here, work on a Christmas-related music video, and then I started getting calls from like Curious and another place that I can't recall at the moment. But finally, my thesis film was put online on Cartoon Brew, and JG Quintel, the creator of Regular Show, saw it, and he asked me to take a design test and a storyboard test. And I did well enough on the storyboard test that he asked me to come out to LA, again, within a 5-day span.
Always.
And then while I was working there, Rebecca started developing Steven Universe, and we knew each other through SVA as well. I was a year above her. And she asked me if I wanted to work on the show, and if I did, what I wanted to do. And I was just like, anything, just let me work with you. I love your pilot so much.
That's awesome. That's such a cute story. I'm glad SVA Connections helped you like later in life.
Yeah, I think that's like the #1 reason to go to art school, more than the classes, just to meet people. Because I mean, it's your peers that push you and inspire you the most.
I believe that too. Right, Hillary?
So I actually got a book deal my senior year at SVA with illustrating on a book for First Second. So it feels like it would have been like, yes, it's so easy. But even when you have it all set up for you, sometimes it doesn't work out. This did end up working out, but it was a very long journey and emotional. It's whatever. Graduating from college is really hard, even if you're doing well. But I finished it. And then I did weird freelance work, lots of reception and work. It's out there, ready for you. And then it was actually people, but I was still making mini comics and going to like small press expos, and it was meeting people there. Actually, I think it was Calvin Wong who got me the Regular Show test, and I tested, and I'd never seen the show before. And I was like, oh, I don't want to watch it before I take the test. I'll be like too influenced. But it worked out, and yeah. And then I kept on rolling.
That's awesome. My next question, I guess, is to Kat. While I was Googling you, I saw kind of a cute like factoid. It said that you created Connie on Steven Universe. Is that true?
Oh, I mean, I think it's a little extreme to say I created her alone, but I did do the first episode that she appeared in, and Rebecca wanted to make her kind of weird and quiet, but I think we ended up sort of shifting. Actually, I did that episode with Alan Romanelos, who's another SVA alum. We graduated together. Yeah, we helped shape. I like the idea of her being quiet, but rather than weird, I kind of wanted to explore sort of like the feeling of isolation that you can have as a kid when you're not really sure about, who you are and how to really interact with people. She kind of goes into that sort of stuff in other episodes, like Stefani, where she has sort of dance anxiety that Hillary worked on.
That was my first official episode. Something easy to just
but yeah, I mean,
get into the Steven Universe world.
In animation, it's like it's a baton pass. You do something and someone else builds on it. Like there's so many facets to her personality that other people have added that I'm just happily applauding and pushing forward as I direct.
That's awesome knowing that you had a hand in the creating of Connie. Is there any other characters that you had a hand in developing?
Yeah, I remember on Regular Show, there's this character CJ, and the outline. I don't know if you remember this, Mike. I was really put off by it because she just came off as so irrational. Like, oh, women, they just get so crazy, and I couldn't have it. I was like, no, she's gonna be really cool. She's gonna be really down to earth, and you're really gonna understand why she gets upset at the end of the episode. And there's a huge climactic conflict. So I was pretty proud of that one. Eileen too. I wanted Eileen to be a super weirdo. Although I think I kind of pushed the romance aspect a little bit too much in the episode that she first appears in, and then just got to get scaled back, and she's a little bit cooler and more scientific once like Minty really took over writing for her.
Well, I'm glad you had that input and I guess made her more of a 3D character or more
that's
in-depth character.
My hope. I think that's kind of why I wanted to grab that Connie episode. I was like, oh, I'm riding high on these characters. I just want to keep making really cool girls. Girls don't have to be cool. There are different ways to be cool, but
that definitely shows in the characters CJ and Connie. My next question is for Mike. You are producing, and I was wondering what that entails, because I feel like the average person doesn't really know what a producer does.
Well, I think there's different types of producers. There's like the types of producers that mainly deal with scheduling and money and that type of thing. The type that I do is more on the art end, So as a co-executive producer of the Shorts Department, in a sense, I'm sort of like a showrunner. So creators come in, and then I'm there to just kind of assist them through all the steps of the process, because I help run radio.